go. Hello. There's a few glitches today. I've been pressing too many buttons. Welcome back. And you can see today I have someone with me. Tom, welcome.
Welcome.
Now, normally Tom would be on the other end joining us, but today he's actually in Marlborough because, Tom, we've had a lot of fun the last couple of days.
We have.
We've been delivering workshops in regards to getting your business ready or your digital profile ready for the international market. And this guy here had been talking with tourism operators, sharing all the golden nuggets on how to get their websites ready for this. Say, let's call it a wave. Can we call it a wave? Can we call it a wave?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Maybe not. But sure. Who knows?
I know. So today is our last of the month, and what we love to do is just have a good old general chit chat about things that are going on in marketing and anything that we've seen pop up, or even if you are watching this live, if you actually have a question for us that you want us to try and defunct, answer, or give you a solution, please, you know what to do. You can drop a message in the comments and we'll definitely give it a crack. But let's start because we're going to keep going with the topic that we've been talking on. So yesterday we delivered a workshop around websites and getting ready. And I think it's a really good place to start, Tom. Our website is so important for our business, isn't it?
Yep, 100%. It's it's basically the window front to your business online, and with that it needs to look its best and be a real current communication about what you're offering.
Yeah, and right now a lot of people have done work on their website when COVID hit because we were trying to get ready for changes in the market. But now, as we're almost going through another change, aren't we? It's time to start thinking about, sharpening up your website, and because Google likes us to actually be constantly updating our website, but
it does.
It's all now about what do we need to be doing next.
That's right. It's about making sure that you're ready for whatever's coming next, that your message is up to date. One of the big things we talked about, Tracy, recently is your unique selling point, or what they call your USP. And we did a really interesting exercise with the workshop where we asked all of the attendees what was their business unique selling point, and one for one, they really hadn't thought about how they articulate that, and they were all going to go away after that and review their website to see if it was actually telling the story about what was their point of difference. And I think that's probably a really good lesson: is does your website tell the story about you and your business and what's unique about you?
Yeah. And I think people kind of quite often struggle with their unique selling point on their own website. They can have a conversation like we are here and talk about what they're good at, but actually articulating it and putting it onto a website they can fall flat a little bit. So it's really important to get other people's advice, talk to people, see 100%. Whether or not, what you think you're portraying is actually what you are portraying on your website.
Yeah, and it's not until you sit down with someone, because you're obviously, all the people we work with and all the people I work with, and same with you, Tracy, is they're on the ground, they're in the, they're looking after their guests or their visitors, and they're just 100% trying to make sure it's a great experience. And sometimes it's really hard to disconnect from all of that and actually have a look at your website. So it's really nice to talk to somebody like either of us who can actually get your mind out of the day-to-day running the business and look at a little bit on the business rather than in the business. And that's where it's nice to work and get your wording and your head around what is your unique offering and how do you word that.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think that another piece to that is that sometimes we actually don't feel the importance of doing that.
That's right.
So, we're so caught up in the operations of our own businesses that we don't actually stop to look at the perception of what people are thinking about us when they're looking at our signage, our website, our communication. So there's all these touch points that sometimes we just forget about because we just get too busy as a business owner.
100%. And especially in today's world, people are looking for what they want to buy into you and your story and your business. Marlborough, for example, there's umpteen vineyards, there's umpteen cellar doors. It's about each one showcasing what's their point of difference, what's unique about their wine, their location, the varieties they offer, the history of the vineyard. And I think it's really important that whatever you're doing, whatever you're selling, that your website tells that story and guides the user into buying into what you're about, because it makes people passionate about you as well, and it buys them into becoming a client.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I talk quite often when I'm doing workshops, and we talked about this yesterday, is that our website is very much our static communication. So
It is.
we update it and we make it look all beautiful, and then we use other forms of social media to help drive that organic, dynamic part of our business. So making sure that we're sharing things that are really current for our business, whether or not it's a new product, new service. It's a beautiful day, new team member.
A bit more of a story.
Yeah, the stories. So the stories come from the more dynamic pieces, which is your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your email newsletters, things that are easy to change.
Even Google My Business. We've been
Google
talking
My
about
Business.
recently.
Yep. And I think we should really talk about Google My Business because people are not leveraging it like they should.
Yeah, because I mean, Google My Business is almost like a mini website now where you can do updates and you can do specials and you can do releases and you can update your images and you can drive reviews and you can get people to ask you questions. It becomes this whole mini hub. And that's really the reason why Google has created this whole platform, because they want to be, a user-driven resource. So it's all linked to Google Maps. It's easy on a mobile phone. And really, if you're working your Google My Business, it becomes a dynamic, living communication about your website and about your business.
Yeah. Now, just quickly for those that might not know about Google My Business, it's you have to have a Gmail account to access it.
You do.
And you have to register your business. Now, if your business is already registered, you need to get access to your listing.
Yeah.
Especially if you've bought your business and it hasn't happened yet. Google My Business is a place where people can write reviews about you. You appear on the map, Google Map. And it also helps optimize your website in the local search listings. So the more you do with Google My Business, the better it is for your business listing.
100%.
Yeah.
And you can now take your Google My Business list reviews and take a little bit of code out of the back end and add that to your website as well, so that it'll show that you're a 4.5 out of 5 star or a 5-star restaurant, vineyard, whatever experience. And it's just another way of building the creditability of your brand. And sure, Google My Business and it's a free platform, so why not work it?
Yeah, and I think it's just going to go from strength to strength, isn't it?
Totally, 100%.
I mean, Google is just moving so fast ahead. I mean, this way that they've gone from pre-COVID, just dabbling in a little bit of travel, and now we're becoming a lot more reliant on the searchability of from a travel point of view, but even just from services and being able to be served choice.
Yeah, 100%. And Tracy and I were mentioning this at the workshop, is that 5-6 years ago, TripAdvisor was like ruled the roost as far as what everyone was looking for on review wise and integrating into your website and getting TripAdvisor badges. And in the space of 5 years, it's taken a definite backseat to Google and Google My Business now, which dominates the search, dominates the reviews. So it's the next wave. And as we mentioned, it's a free resource. So why not get in there and optimize it for all you can and drive the traffic to your website?
Yeah, totally. And the great thing about Google My Business is it does send you monthly updates.
It does.
Yeah.
And you get really good analytics in your, you can see, what visitors have done, how many people looked at your post, how many click-throughs to your website. It's really simple to set up a post. You can add a book now, find out more, and you can direct them to a URL on your website. So it's just another way of building that web and driving traffic to your website.
Yeah. Now, it is very different and not to be confused with Google Analytics.
That's right.
And it's also not to be confused with AdWords.
Yes, that's right.
So
or even your own, Google Analytics and AdWords. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And anyone can do it. Now, if you hear the word Google and you hear your website in Google, and most people go,
yeah.
It's too hard to do. It's actually really not that hard. Google My Business is very simple. And it's intended to be like that. It's intended for people to do, anyone that has limited IT or limited computer skills to be able to manage it. And it's, once you set it up, you don't have to do a lot to it. But as we mentioned, there are great things that you can do with Google My Business. And one of those is posts.
Yep. Posting is really simple. And it's a bit like doing a mini blog post. So it's, it only needs to be a couple of paragraphs and a nice image. And it could be about the fact that you've just opened a new suite, you've had a renovation, that you've got a new vintage coming out, that, whatever it is that you want to showcase. I mean, here we are in Marlborough and it's the change of seasons and the vines are looking incredible right now because they're all turning that rusty red and deep yellows, and it's looking beautiful. So it might be just a matter of a post about what's going on in the vineyard. But yeah, you can use this platform really simply to create a post and drive traffic.
And then the last thing that's really important is making sure you monitor your reviews.
That's right. Monitor your reviews and respond. So good, bad, or ugly, you got to respond. And it's often the skill at answering a negative review and not responding in a knee-jerk reaction. It's because remember that it's not necessarily that you've answered that person who had a negative experience with you or felt they did. It's more about other people reading those reviews and seeing how you responded and how well you responded and how nicely you responded. It builds that whole concept of what I'm about to experience if I'm going to come to your business.
Yeah. Now, jumping back to websites, there's obviously a lot of people out there that have updated their websites. They've either had a new rebuild over, COVID, and now we're here going, hey, now it's time to have another look at your website. But the pros and cons of building your own or getting someone else to do it. And I know this is a tricky one because Tom runs his own digital agency. So if you are interested in working with someone like Tom, we'll put some details up. But Tom is a digital agency, so he's always going to say that he would love to build your website because he's amazing at it. But small businesses?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, Trace, just to clarify, I mean, last week we got a lead in and I actually said to them, you should actually go and you're probably ideal for going building your own website because they're savvy, they know what they're doing, and they don't necessarily have a big budget, so or have a budget. So it was like, well, why don't you go to one of these platforms and build it yourself? It's pretty easy. But the pros of doing it yourself are that if you're skilled enough, you can do it. There are so many platforms out there, Webflow, WordPress, whatever you want to use, Wix, which is what it is. But there's so many platforms out there that have made it really user-friendly, and there's a whole bunch of online academies that you can learn about them. And if you're savvy enough, then go ahead and do it.
Yep.
The cons of it are the time, because you're also running the business and trying to do it. You want to make sure that everything's done properly, back-end wise, SEO wise, redirecting from your old website to the new website, and the crossover to the new website, because you don't actually want to lose all the traffic and what you've gained. So there are pros and cons. I think really, if you can find someone who you trust and feel there's a relationship with, then it's definitely more pros than cons of going with an agency, especially if they can do it in budget. You feel like they're going to stick with you through duration and that they really have your best interests at heart and want to make sure it works, then definitely it's a lot easier. And maybe you have to pay a little more, but it's saving you a lot of time in the long run. And it means that your website goes live and has the best chance of making forward progress.
And I think you mentioned about the pros and cons. I think it's really important that when we are looking at building a website, whether you choose to do it yourself or someone else, is actually calculating your hours.
Yeah, that's right.
So if it takes, if it's going to take you 100 hours, but it's going to take a web developer 50, even though the hourly rate's different, it actually works out that it will be better off just paying someone to do it.
That's right. That's right. Because in my experience, it's usually about 4 to 1 of a professional web developer who's going to sit there and who knows their stuff and doing it. It's usually about 4 times longer for you to do it yourself. So really, it's probably, if it's 50 hours, it's probably more likely 200 hours of your time. But like most small business owners, you don't actually consider your time. You just think of someone's paid $400 for a room, or they've paid whatever it is for the experience, or X amount to come and do a tour with you. But if you work it back to how many hours it's going to take you and how much it's going to cost you per hour, it becomes more viable to actually invest with a company to actually do it for you.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I just came up with a little bit of an idea.
What's that?
How about we just do a bit of a rapid fire of things that we need to do to our website to make sure it's up to speed and running.
Okay.
So
what would be mine?
You just start one and I'll go one.
Optimizing your images so that they're not too huge because they make it load too slow.
Mine would be checking your meta descriptions, making sure that they make sense for each page.
And they're not too long.
So 140 characters, did you say? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. 150 characters. Yep. Mine would be to make sure your external links are all working. So in other words, where you got external links, double check them and make sure they're actually connected and they're not broken.
And I'm going to go in internal links. Make sure you've actually got some internal links. So that means rather than making a website or one direction, so starting from the homepage down, that you can actually move throughout your website and go sideways and crossways. So Google loves links.
Cool. And then my other one about images would be make sure they're flawless, because if they're blurry and they're out of date and they're 25 years old and it's kind of like doesn't exist like that anymore, update them.
Hang on, I thought that's 2 on images. Come on.
Yeah. But it was two different things about images.
No, I know. I would say headers. So making sure that you define your text with headers. So just don't do a whole lot of block of text. Make sure you break it up. So one, it's easy on the eye for the consumer reading your text, and also Google actually understands where information starts and finishes.
Cool. My next one would be go and have a look at your website on a mobile phone and see if it actually is rendering really well.
Oh, damn, that was a good one. My next one is going to be
Call to action.
Oh yes, a call to action. Thanks for that. Thank you. Having a book button, so making sure that you've got a book button very visible on your website. So if you're a tourism or a product, even a buy now button, making sure that those call to action buttons are very visible, being right at the top of the page, or even if you're describing the products, have shortcuts to key products or key services that you want to drive people through with a book now button.
Cool. Are we still going on?
Have you got any more?
Yeah, so make sure the navigation at the top of your website doesn't have more than 4 items, because you don't want 16 different navigation clicks at the top, because it's all about not confusing people. So you literally want 4 key areas you want them to go to: about you, find out more, booking, whatever it is. You just need to strip it back so it's simple on the homepage.
And I've got one more, is making sure that depending on whatever type of business you are, you've got a terms of trade listed on your website, or if you're a tourism business, making your terms and conditions visible. So you don't want them hidden, because it just annoys people and it will just encourage phone calls and emails to your business.
Done.
I think that's a good one. Hey.
Done.
All right, everyone. Well, look, today was just really about a casual chat. And if you are watching and you do like what we do, please make sure you like, share, or even throw us a comment. We do enjoy doing what we do, and we thank you for joining us today. It is just an idle chat, but we'll be back next week with a topic. So until next week, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.